buddy?
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on today's show, we've got something on our mind, and we're gonna we've got a big ask, and we're gonna ask.
We got a call to action. We got a bee in our bonnet, baby.
That is what it is. So that's going to be coming up on the second half of the show.
Do you feel like an activist? Because it's time to get active, baby. That's where we're coming from.
Dan, I have a hard time getting off the couch these days. So
right.
But anyway, we've got a message and something that's on our minds, and
we're not afraid to use it.
But first, before we even get to the news portion of the show, there's something, of course, that happened after we recorded the show last week. Even though the show came out after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's passing was announced. So it's been over a week. And I mean, for us, as we're recording, it hasn't been a week yet. And so,
but for you,
guys, it's been over a week. And it's been I don't know about you guys, but it's been a hard week for me. And these are, obviously trying times that we're living through, but it behooves us to sort of stop and remember and honor somebody who worked so hard for equality in this country, and who was so incredibly important to all of us. And
someone who cleared the path for women especially.
Mm-hmm.
But for gay people and for LGBT people of all stripes, and she literally just was what America was supposed to be about, which was justice for everybody, equality for all, and she helped shape our country in a good way, and now she's helping to ruin it by dying. So great, thanks a heap,
Dan.
I'm sorry. I'm going through the stages of grief, Frank. I'm going through the stages. I'm at anger. Currently, I'm mad.
I'm at deal making. So
okay,
we're in different places. Anyway, of course, I mean it's old news at this point, but we had to acknowledge it and also just say, hey, everybody, these are trying times, right? For so many of us. This year has just been one blow after another of various different kinds and of different magnitudes. And this wasn't what my psyche needed. So if you're having a rough time out there, find someone to talk to.
Find someone to hold. Find someone to give you therapy. Find the Secular Therapy Project. Go to them. Go to seculartherapyproject.org, and they can hook you up with a therapist who won't say Jesus to you.
That's a really good thing. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to get this show going.
Yeah, do a show. God damn it, we need to do a show.
So, I don't. Utah doesn't usually make national news, right? And so people may not even know how bad COVID-19 has started to get here. But our ding-dong governor has just has taken the approach of, well, I trust Utahns to be responsible and blah, blah, blah. Why aren't you guys wearing masks? I'm so disappointed. You're not wearing masks. All the while not actually mandating a good goddamn thing.
Right,
and the
exactly.
Weakest
and
when asked,
if you know masks work, why aren't you mandating it? Well, I trust the Utahns to do the right thing.
Which they're not doing.
Look around you. You just said they're not doing it.
Yeah.
What's the matter with you?
So there's that going on. The big hot spot right now in Utah is Utah County, which is the county south of Salt Lake City. And that's where Provo, Utah is, and Orem, Utah. It's also where Brigham Young University is. And another major, at least locally major university that you've never heard of, Utah Valley University. But it's large. It's really large.
It's actually technically the biggest university in the state, isn't it?
I believe Utah Valley. Might be right about that. So there's a very large college student population in the area, and they are in a lot of ways doing their dang hardest to make sure that COVID gets everywhere in that county. And so this is the story of two 20-somethings and a bunch of and their dance parties. These two young men, one of whom had been a student at Brigham Young University. His name is Kwaku L. He was a convert to the Mormon church.
Did he convert from the book Dune with that name? Did he convert from Star Wars
to Texas?
Kwaku L is not a Star Wars name. That is a real human.
Yes, it is, Dan.
Okay.
So he and a local Utah native by the name of Samuel Nee, that's Nii. So these two, they must have found each other at the Strange Name Symposium. Anyway, they formed a group that is named, and I kid you not, Young/Dumb, and they are they're party promoters, right? They put together the parties, they promote them. And they're all sort of, it's very Utah County. It's very Mormon, right? And so these are like dance parties with DJs. It's Mormon
in the sense
blah.
that like it's Mormon in that subversive way, which is that they try so hard to be awesome, like crazy partiers,
right? But there's mocktails.
They don't serve alcohol there, so you have to sort of bring your own on the sly or whatever.
Well, yeah, I don't know so much about that as far as the on the sly, but the parties did serve mocktails specifically. And the photos that you would see on social media of these events, the kids were, modestly dressed. They weren't, showing too many shoulders and whatnot. So the clothes just, well, as the article says, they also aren't wearing clothes as risque as seen in nightclubs in Salt Lake City or Park City.
Like the big evil city of Salt Lake. This is how these people think. It's true.
And so anyway, it's kind of a fascinating story because the Kwaku L, he was the vice president of Brigham Young University's sort of Young Democrats, which is surprising that there's even a Young Democrats on BYU's campus, but there is. And he was involved in that. And he is the article tracks his evolution from somebody who supported Democratic candidates in the past to now basically spewing QAnon conspiracies about masks and the economy is more important than human lives and all this.
Let me tell you something. BYU works. I mean, it didn't work for you, but apparently Kwaku drank that BYU Sparkle.
Oh, I actually got
straight down.
BYU Sparkle.
It's an inside joke for all you former Zoobies.
Yeah. Actually, I got it wrong. Nee, the kid, the lifelong Mormon. He's actually from Idaho. Well, anyway.
Okay.
These were not legally sanctioned events. They had one that was officially shut down by the local police, and then they promptly rescheduled it, set it all up, and didn't announce where it was going to be until like hours before the event, so the police couldn't like really shut them down in the same way.
They went underground,
and their post said, however, so this was after the first one was canceled. They in their announcement of it, they said, however, due to us not being little bitches, we are replacing it with the underground dance party.
God.
So young/dumb. If you can fucking believe it.
Which one's young and which one's dumb? Or are they both?
They're both. They're clearly both. Like,
well,
I don't want to
judge
just by their pictures, but
now they're. I mean,
they look the part. Let me put it that way.
And there's no real tracing going on in Utah, so we don't know what led to what. But I can tell you that these parties did lead to coronavirus being spread.
Oh, yeah.
Because these were unmasked events,
yes.
right?
Oh, yeah. These were unmasked events. They've actually sort of... You're right that there are no official tracings going on, but they've basically been able to trace... They know of at least... How many did they say? I don't remember exactly how many, but they have been able to trace cases back to people who ended up getting sick later, right? Had been at this party type stats. And in addition to that, the community spread has been so significant. And obviously this is part of a larger problem. These aren't the only people doing stupid things in Utah County.
Well, and that's the problem, is that it's not just these events, it's this attitude.
Yeah.
It's these ding-dongs who think that they're immune, or they don't care if they get it, and apparently don't care if grandma gets it either. And so
well, Provo City, thanks to all these people, now has a mask mandate.
Oh, really?
Their city council passed a mask mandate. The mayor vetoed it, and the city council overruled the veto.
Wow.
So they do have officially a mask mandate. Whether people are actually doing it or not is entirely different.
Not
question.
at the underground parties, they're not.
Nope.
All right. Well, there you go. I'm going to take us to Archer City, Texas, where a young kid, delightfully named David Bumgardner, just really enjoy that name. 21 years old, fresh out of ministerial school or whatever.
Okay.
Was the new minister at the Faith Memorial Baptist Church. This young guy was a dyed-in-the-wool conservative. Talks a lot of the good lines about, literally on his Facebook page, he wrote, "Abortion is evil, homosexuality is a sin," but also said, "Nationalism, ethnocentrism, racism, greed, unjust wars, policies that plunder the poor and the earth, and blasphemy are unspeakably vile." So he's having it both ways. I think, but no, he considers himself a conservative, Bible-believing, Orthodox, evangelical Baptist, but then also was calling out the less Christ-like things going on in the Trump administration.
Oh, really?
And announced that he was voting for Biden.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, okay, go millennial / Gen Zer, that you're able to sort of navigate some tricky waters, and I applaud that. There's some integrity to these positions. I think.
Okay. So what happened to this poor young man?
Wait, why are you guessing that something happened to him, Frank? You don't think that the Southern Baptist Convention has room for such a person? Because guess what? It doesn't. Yeah, they revoked his ministerial license.
No.
Yeah, they didn't just give him a slap on the wrist. They're like, you're not a minister anymore. GTFO.
No. Just
Dude's
for
gone.
saying that he was voting for Biden?
Yeah, well, so they their hedge is, no, it's not because he has different political views. It's not that. Obviously. We're not like that. We're not dicks.
Right.
We don't kick you out just because you have a different political view. We kick you out because you cause discord among the brothers.
Oh. Wow.
By having different political views. They don't say that part, but that's the unspoken part. His posts did not literally, quote, do not promote gospel unity. Well, what the fuck, you guys? That's his political views that you're objecting to.
Not his
you're
gospel
lying.
views. Yeah.
You're fucking liars.
Oh, golly.
So there you go. And the thing that's really the kicker on this is that this dude really thinks of himself as a conservative.
Yeah.
He hates gays the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he ticks a lot of the boxes. He just doesn't think that, he doesn't want the evil to go as far as complete disenfranchisement of of a group of people based on their race, for example. And maybe doesn't like fascism, which I think is like crazy. Obviously, you should like fascism. It's awesome. Yeah, he had to. He was then, like, for a while there, he had to defend his position by saying, no, it's not Marxism to want to vote for Biden. That's not how that works.
Good for him.
But
he recognizes that.
Yeah, exactly. But people were accusing him of, like, being part of a leftist takeover of the church and whatever.
Oh my God.
But.
So he really caused a stir. Like, he didn't just kind of cause a stir. He really fucking caused a stir.
Apparently.
Well, yeah, okay, kick him out.
Yeah.
I'm actually, the next time they want to, talk about the left and our purity tests and whatnot, somebody needs to point at this kind of thing and be like, you guys are just as bad, right? Like, this is an issue that is... it's unfortunate that I don't like purity tests, right? Like, no. I think that they're a serious problem.
They're part of poo-poo.
Yeah, it's part of the polarization in this country, right? Is that you have to be, you
have to be my level of right
exactly
on all the issues, or we're not partners.
Cancel.
We can't talk to each other. Yeah,
exactly. So they canceled this kid.
Yeah,
this
kid got. And it's not just canceled, like he lost his job.
Yeah, exactly.
So that sucks.
So that's canceling, right? Like, that's the ultimate of canceling, is that you didn't fit, you didn't meet the terms of this purity test. You don't get to work. We're going to attack your livelihood, right?
And it's their loss because they could have had a minister named Bumgardner, and that's just...
It might be the real reason, Dan.
How do you let that go?
They didn't... They were suspicious of the name.
Listen,
that's why
David,
he doesn't like gay people, because he's been teased his whole life.
If any of our listeners can get in touch with, if you're near Archer City, tell him we welcome him with open arms into the loving TGIA family.
And he can garden bums all he wants.
We will treasure his name for eternity.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Oman, the country.
The country,
yeah.
Not you're not doing a Jamaican accent and saying Oman.
No,
you're saying
Oman, the country
of Oman.
What is it, on the tip of the Arabian Peninsula, right?
Somewhere in that area,
nestled next to the United Arab Emirates. Because I had to look it up. I knew it was over there somewhere, right? But that's where it's
near Yemen, I think.
Yes, you're right, Dan.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Look at you.
Okay.
There's some things that surprised me about this article about something that happened in Oman, or that is happening in Oman. The first is that they are in the middle of a crackdown in their shopping malls about exposed knees and shoulders. This is
Those
coming from the
dangerous.
highest levels of the government. There must be this crackdown. Men and women who expose their shoulders, knees, or chest.
Oh, men and women.
Men and women. It's an equal opportunity. Cover the fuck up.
Okay.
They could face fines of up to $780 and jail terms of up to 3 months.
Whoa!
The clothes that they are wearing to properly cover themselves must also be free of any sensitive drawings or illustrations.
Wow.
So you can't have a big, penis on your shirt that's,
or something that says, Allah is dumb or something. Oh. Don't wear your Thank God I'm Atheist shirt.
Exactly. I don't think, though, they need to actually tell anybody that one. Everybody just kind of knows that one.
Yeah.
But
I tell you what, man, if you guys, any of our listeners who goes to the Middle East, don't fuck around.
Oh, no.
Don't test them.
No.
That is not a good idea.
Serious.
Keep your head down. Do what they ask. Apparently wear long sleeves and pants at all times.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around.
Yeah, I agree. However, interestingly enough, Dan, the veil is not mandatory. Because
ladies can show their hair?
I guess that's what
and
they
their
must
face?
mean. Because, and this is out of an interest of multiculturalism and religious tolerance. So they're not requiring that, but they do not want to see your shoulder.
Yeah.
No way. And your knee?
Gross.
Absolutely not.
Forget about it. Your knee comes out.
I guess there have been a lot of complaints about indecency.
Oh my God.
And as we know, if you've never seen, certain parts of the body before, even parts so innocent as,
head, shoulders, knees, and toes,
elbows, right?
Yeah.
Like it's titillating.
Yeah. Nothing more erotic than the places where humans bend.
Indeed.
Oh my God. All right, fine. Well, I'm going to go back to Texas. I'm loving it in Texas right now.
Okay.
I don't know if can you call to mind, are you able to, the logo of the United Methodists? Is that something that is in your head?
Is it like a flame of some kind?
Yeah, it's like a thin cross. And next to it, and sort of interacting with it, is a flame.
Okay. Yeah.
I've seen it a bunch of times. One thing that has never occurred to me, and I don't know why, is that in the South, the sight of flames and a cross
oh God
has different meaning.
Oh my God.
So yeah, there is now a movement in the South to reconsider this logo.
Oh my God.
Because yeah, I mean it doesn't look to me, to my eye, like the cross itself is on fire.
Right. That would be different. That would be like little jagged lines and probably more up toward the top. Right.
Well,
like
I mean, but the flame sort of is next to and behind, but it's right next to it. There's no reason not to think that this is a flaming cross.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
you just have seen something so many times, right?
Yeah. Well, and that image of a flaming cross is not our image. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't grow up with that being something scary. But let me tell you something. If you grew up in the early 20th century or even later as a black person, you've seen some burning crosses, and they were not pleasant. They were these are the whole idea was that this was white supremacists using this image as an intimidation and to terrorize black people.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that that especially black members would call on the United Methodist Church to maybe rebrand a little bit. Let's reconsider our logo and look into that. Which the second I started reading that, I was like, holy shit!
Yeah. I would drop the cross because the flames are really nicely designed, right? Like,
well done. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think you're right. They're lovely flames. I always they kind of look like leaves a little bit.
No, they're really it's just a very simple and elegant design.
Right. The cross is really the problem. Yeah.
Drop the cross.
Let's just get rid of the cross.
There's nothing wrong with fire, right?
Everybody likes fire.
It's a problem when you put fire with a cross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah. Drop the cross. Maybe put in a 5-pointed star. See what that does. That might look good.
Upside down.
Sure. Pointed downward.
Circle?
Yeah.
In a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
That sounds really good.
So whether or not I am not holding my breath that this will happen, but it's a possibility. You know, it's hit the wires. So maybe it exists. Maybe something will come of this.
Yeah. All right.
But boy, are people reluctant to get rid of anything, even if it really, really hurts people's feelings. So. But, you know, Jesus never said anything about, like, you know, loving your neighbor or anything. So why would you feel compelled to change something just because your neighbors are hurt by it?
Right. Dan.
Yeah.
You have, in the past, whenever the topic of somebody's claiming something along the lines of, claiming to be spiritual, or they're maybe saying that they're, you know, spiritual but not religious. But this is something that you have repeatedly been like, I don't know what they mean by this.
Because I don't.
Right.
I'm still baffled by that thought.
So, a recent study that looked into what spirituality means to people, right?
Sure.
Has come out.
Great.
It has found the findings are kind of interesting. For example, 86% of Americans, according to this study, identify as spiritual to some extent. Right.
Okay. See, for a second there, I thought you couldn't get more meaningless than just spiritual, but spiritual to some extent. You've really blown the doors off of it.
Just wait. Like, it finally gets to the point, right?
Okay.
It's so and it found out some kind of interesting thing about people's the more that they identify themselves as being spiritual, right? The higher they rate their spirituality, it correlates with their likeliness to volunteer, or to donate, or to vote, even, right?
Oh, wow.
So there's this connection to being civically minded, right? The more you identify yourself as spiritual. Now, one of the things that they pointed out was kind of an innovation of this study is that they actually asked people to define what spirituality meant to them. So to kind of get at the core of, like, when you say this, what do you mean, right?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly. And so they were able to do this through focus groups, I guess, after the initial survey. And they found that one of the things they did is they had people draw pictures of spirituality. Like, what are some of the images, right, that sort of come to mind? And people drew pictures of of
now
trees.
I want to see this.
Clouds.
Yeah. Oh my God.
As well as apparently like some peace signs, some things that would suggest love. They drew divine beings.
If you draw enough of these images, does a hippie store just pop up where you are? Do crystals magically appear in your hand?
Some of the words that people used to describe spiritual people, right? They were like, okay, well, what can you describe a spiritual person for us? And so the respondents chose positive things. They said, like happy and joyful, calm, centered, compassionate, caring. And what was interesting is that people were hesitant to connect their spirituality with politics in any way, shape, or form. And this was kind of a broad finding, is that people felt that politics didn't have anything to do with their spirituality and vice versa.
What? Shut up. That's a lie.
Their religion is something entirely different, and their religious practice is different. This is them defining themselves and their sort of connection to things that are bigger or outside of them, or connections to ideas that are inside of them. And that's why it's so hard when people have a very hard time defining this, and it's why there's just a study now that's actually going, could you please tell us what you mean by this? Because we don't we don't really know, even though 86% of Americans identify as being spiritual to some extent, even though that seems to be a little bit of a problem. But I just found it really, really interesting that this is something that people's sense of spirituality is something that they hold separate and almost have a desire to keep it unsullied by these other interests, such as political interests. And that's fascinating. And I don't know what that means, right? I don't know if...
I feel like this concept of spirituality, it's on. Here's where I really object to the idea, and I want to be specific about it, because what I think it is this holdover where somebody embraces the qualities that you mentioned of compassion and caring for the environment, or caring for the fellow humans, or any number of very positive personal traits. And they've been trained by our society that those belong in a box called religion. And they don't want the religion, they don't want that box, and they don't know what box to put them in. So they just call it this spirituality thing. And then they can throw whatever woo they want on it. They can overlay it with any number of,
candles,
quasi Native American or ancient Indian practices that they want to.
Little bells.
And they can smudging, whatever it is.
Right.
But really, all we have to do is just say, no, you can have all of those things, and you can work on them, and you can grow them inside of yourself. And it's just about being a good person.
Is there a need, Dan, for people to disassociate almost really positive feelings from themselves? Right? Like they want it to be coming from outside, right? They want it to be coming from this source, when all they need to do is say, that love that I feel, that burning feeling that I feel, right?
Yeah.
Or that whatever, right?
Or that interconnectedness that I feel with other humans, with nature.
I'm feeling
that's just
that.
You.
I feel that because that's how
and
powerful
that's great.
That is. Right.
And that's enough. And there's nothing, you don't need anything bigger than that.
It's a human reaction to these kind of experiences or connections or...
Right. I hate to boil it down even further, but guess what? It's fucking chemicals, baby. It's like...
Yeah. No,
it's your chemistry, and I approve of all of that. But like, when we can replicate those same feelings by dosing you with a little bit of magic mushrooms or whatever, guess what? It's your chemistry.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Magic mushrooms, psychedelics aren't unlocking your connection to the universe.
Oh, people like to say it, though. Anybody who's been through like an ayahuasca ceremony and they talk about the mother or whatever, it's like, excuse me?
You had an experience, and I don't deny that, and it may have changed you for the better. Wonderful. Right. But it was a chemical change, not you didn't connect to something in another realm. You connected to something very much in your realm.
Inside you, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Urquhart might disagree with me. All right. Well, we've got an email about that. I'll remind everybody who that is later. So I'm going to take us to here in these United States. There's lots and lots of different kinds of churches. We talk a hell of a lot about the sort of right-wing, very conservative evangelicals because they like to holler. They are very noisy. But here's an interesting thing. There has been a study of over 1,200 congregations across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of political engagement, it turns out that the liberal congregations are far more engaged than the conservative ones.
As define engaged, like what are they up to?
We're talking about activities like political discussions, voter guides, get out the vote, voter registration stuff, lobbying elected officials,
really,
demonstrations, marching, all of these sorts of things. The liberal congregations are more engaged than the conservative ones.
Well, maybe
so that's interesting.
Maybe Biden's no dummy.
Well, there is that
because we ain't organized.
Yeah, here's the problem, though. I mean, and the article that I got this from on Religion News doesn't really go into this.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, they're more engaged. They're also a tiny percentage of the congregations in the country.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
So 80% of them, or whatever the percentage, apparently half of the congregations, the liberal congregations, are more engaged. But half of a small percentage is still a smaller percentage than a smaller number of people of engaged communities than what the conservatives have. So
interesting.
Yeah. But, it's very interesting talking about, you talk about endorsing candidates, and, President Trump was all over the fact that he got rid of the Johnson Amendment by, with an executive order. And the Johnson Amendment, for those who don't know, was the amendment to that said that that churches that were tax exempt were not allowed to endorse a candidate.
Right.
And Trump said, I got rid of that. Well, no, you didn't, ding dong. You don't have the authority to, but he can tell the IRS not to enforce it.
Right, yeah.
But in terms of percentages, he cleared the way for liberal congregations far more than conservative ones. So that's very interesting.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, that's the thing.
So there you go. I still just would rather that churches not be involved in politics in these United States the way it was supposed to be. But
the better solution.
There you go. All right. Well, kids, if you are part of a congregation that was involved and you want to tell us about it or anything else, please feel free to write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around, guys. There's more show. Hey, Dan.
Yes?
Wait, I was calling for Dan.
I'm sorry, he's not here right now.
The passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Obviously,
her again.
I know, sent shockwaves through the country.
I'm shocked.
And obviously,
I'm not shocked. She was an old lady.
We were devastated. The left was devastated. And the right wasn't so much.
No. They were not devastated. Were kind of pleased as punch, really. It's kind of ugly, but boy, I saw so many, like Coach Dave was chiming in about how great it was.
Yeah. And when Scalia died, you and I on this show were pretty stoked about that. I let's not paint ourselves as saints, or that in their position we didn't do the same thing. But here's what they where they take it that we didn't, and it's that they were praying for it.
Yeah,
they were wishing and wanting for Ruth Bader Ginsburg to die.
Well, and not just hoping. Now they're taking credit. So here's Robert Henderson, who's a pastor, who apparently he had taken a trip to D.C. recently. Here's what he had to say.
We were in the meeting on Monday night in D.C., and I told him, I said, look, we need to go into the courts of heaven right now while we're on site in D.C., and we need to shut the mouth of the lion judicially. We need to ask for a judgment against the lion that has actually been devouring and intends to devour from the Supreme Court. We need to get a judgment against this lion that Paul said God shut the mouth of. So I led us into that place. Well, guess what? Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away. President Trump will establish a new Supreme Court justice. That's no accident. That's no accident. We dealt with that very significantly. Someone said, now, how can you have the authority to do that? Because we are a house of prayer. Because you are a house of... No individual can do that, but a house of prayer that is representing a culture can stand in the courts of heaven and get verdicts rendered out of heaven that will allow God's will to be done. Do you need to understand? If we don't shut down this abortion issue, that blood altar will invite demonic powers into this nation. It will continue to do it. As bad as killing babies is, it's not just about the babies, it's about a blood altar that is inviting demonic powers. We have to shut it down. And we need a judgment against the mouth of the lion.
Frank, I'm going to admit something to you.
What's that?
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. This judgment, mouth of lion business? I literally have no idea what the fuck he's on about.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the sentiment, this let's not get too mired in the specifics and bogged down by details here.
In the words that he's used.
Yeah, because it's more the general meaning.
Which was that if you have enough people, the prayer, "Dear Jesus, please kill her," will work. If you have enough people.
Yeah, I think that is what he's claiming. And, it is amazing that they've never learned the lesson that it normally doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, every once in a while, events just sort of happen that might confirm your little prayer. Right.
Yeah.
But it usually doesn't work. Yeah. And in fact, it doesn't work, obviously. But, like, in their minds, I don't know how they don't see that it, like, the vast majority of the times, there's no intervention.
Yeah. 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 This
was luck, dude. This was timing.
If you're going to take credit for a prayer working, why not take credit for a murder? Why not make it somebody dying?
Yeah,
that's
like, normally it's like, somebody healed of something, and it's like, well, that's problematic enough, right? But, like,
but the death of someone,
the death of
Right.
Oh my God.
And all those women in that congregation yelling amen, not realizing that, like, the woman who just died was the one who cleared the path for you to, own a house without a man co-signing, or get a credit card without a man co-signing, or get a job.
Yeah.
That's, go to college. I mean, you could go to college before, but
Right.
But like, just the equality that you enjoy as a person, you probably don't enjoy it. Who am I kidding? These women.
Well, here's one for you, Dan. Ironically, Ruth Bader Ginsburg made it possible for a woman to come along after her to undo her legacy.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Right?
Way to go, Ruth.
No.
You should have thought it through.
Like, how does that end up working out? Right? Here's this accomplished, or this woman who is in position at this point to be her replacement, most likely, right?
Yeah.
And
you're talking about what's her name?
Drawing a blank on
Coney
her name. Yeah,
something.
that one. Amy something.
Amy Coney Barrett. That's what it was.
There we go. Like before when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was like trying just to get a job out of law school,
right, and be taken seriously as a lawyer.
Yeah, like it was like nigh unto impossible.
Yeah,
nobody would hire a woman lawyer. So yeah, there's that. I hope professional women don't miss that point. Even the conservative ones. But.
Well, we had some folks write into us. Someone delightfully calling themselves Jam Nasty.
Nice.
And I have to. You'll understand why I'm telling you this when I read the email itself. But I should point out to you that this email comes in multiple font sizes, with very creative capitalization throughout.
Oh,
so
okay,
just imagine that.
Okay.
As I read Jam Nasty's email, in response to your story on Steve Urquhart. Now, I will remind our listeners that Steve Urquhart was the conservative Utah politician who then went on to do an ayahuasca ceremony, and it blew his mind, man. And then now he's decided to start a psychedelics-based religion here in Utah.
Right.
So in response to that, Jam Nasty says, I have been an open and quite vocal advocate of psychedelics for years now. I can't tell you how many times I have said that I think a requirement for any elected seat, a seat of government, should be a psychedelic experience. And I'm not talking about, I'll just have one sip of your mushroom tea, thank you. Oh, no. I'm talking heroic dose, ego death causing experience.
That's the whole thing?
Well, they do go on. On a side note, when Grace Slick of Jefferson Airplane was invited into the White House in 1970, she allegedly brought LSD with her in hopes of having the opportunity to dose Tricky Dick Nixon. I often wonder what might have happened differently if she was successful. Well, I think you're putting a lot of faith into some crazy psychedelics, but who knows?
Yeah, who wins, Nixon or psychedelics?
Right? Yeah, exactly. Something tells me Nixon wins in that one, but it worked for Steve Urquhart, so who can even say? Professor Mark wrote into us, "Hey, Frank and Dan. The best use for a failed church I've experienced was the conversion of a holy place to a hoppy place.
Yeah.
While attending the American Atheist Convention in Cincinnati and unexpectedly questioning my atheism, I stumbled into what looked like St. Paul's Evangelical German Protestant Church. But praise be, it turned out to be Taft's Ale House. Now, I'm just fucking with you. I totally knew it was a brewery, and that I totally made it my mission to check out. The building is beautiful and still looks all churchy, just with the even more beautiful addition of beer stuff. Don't take my word for it. I've attached a couple pics. Anyway.
Nice.
Well done, Professor Mark. I actually met Professor Mark at that event, so that was nice.
Cool.
We have a voicemail, do we not?
We do indeed. Yeah, this is a listener who's responding, Dan, to our show from last week. And he has some things to say about why maybe atheists aren't taken too seriously as a group politically.
Hey, Frank and Dan. This is Nick out in PA. Just listened to the most recent episode of Thank God I'm Atheist. And, I wanted to comment on why we don't get pandered to as the nuns as often. I think it also has to do with the fact that there's no place for us to really wiggle around. If it was two middle-of-the-road candidates and they're basically the same, it'd be a lot easier to throw our weight behind one over the other and say, well, look, we're important. You can look at the numbers. But as things have become more politicized and more polarized, it makes it a lot harder when it comes to, people's rights, whether it's Black Lives Matter or women's rights, gay rights. The stakes are way higher. And at that point, it does end up making it so that we kind of get taken for granted because, for the most part, a lot of nuns tend to be kind of liberal-leaning, and, we just kind of get taken for granted, and it sucks. I don't know the answer to move forward, but I think the only way we're going to get to a point where we can be listened to a little bit easier is if things become more depolarized and kind of cool down a bit. I don't know. Thanks for the great job you guys do, and keep up the good work. Love y'all. Bye.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, yeah, you got a good point there in that, if you're talking about me as a secular voter, it would take a lot for you to convince me not to vote against Trump, meaning for Biden so that we unseat Trump. Yeah. It would take it would be unfathomable the amount of dipshittery that Biden would have to pull for me to think, Trump's the better choice. So yes, take me for granted, stupid Biden. I don't even like Biden. I'm personally, I have nothing against the guy, but as a candidate, not my guy. But the amount of stuff that would have to happen before I would not vote for Biden just to get Trump out of there.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah, I mean, especially right now, I get it. I get why we're irrelevant as a group because we've allowed ourselves. Up to this point, there's never been anything, organized anything really. I mean, aside from a few, groups that do great work, right? It's never coalesced into any kind of political movement or with any kind of cohesive message or anything like that.
We'll talk about that a little later in the show, too. I have one more email from Max in Mississippi. This is also about politics, because what isn't about politics in this moment in our history? Max says, last week you asked why Joe Biden and the Democrats are not engaging non-religious voters. Before atheists can become an important voting bloc, one worth courting, they need to have a common political agenda and a public image that makes them both dependable allies to politicians and non-threatening to other members of their coalition. These are separate problems, but they are inextricably linked. As you suggested last week, a basic plank of common political agenda would be an insistence that the government protect non-religious people against harassment and discrimination in our public institutions. I worry, however, that this leads to a situation in which we are constantly fighting ugly skirmishes against people who encroach on the boundary between church and state. Put simply, we are constantly reacting to their transgressions. I think we need to alter the terms of the debate. We need something bigger, something that can pull people into our movement. That might be a new vision for our society. We might champion the views of humanity like those offered in the Humanist Manifesto or by Carl Sagan in The Pale Blue Dot. Or we might advance the ideals of the Enlightenment and link those back to the nation's founders. atheists or secularists who engage in public life might even offer themselves as champions of evidence, reason, and truth. The larger point is that we need something aspirational, not simply defensive or reactionary.
And that's a really good point.
I really like that. Yeah,
it's an excellent point.
Real good. Well, do we have some folks to thank this week?
Dan, we do.
What?
We really, really do. We have we have 3 new patrons. These are people. Can you go a little higher?
Nope, that's we hit the ceiling there.
Well, it's higher than I can go. These people went to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicked on the support tab, and followed it over to Patreon. And they are Barbara, who is a new deacon.
Woo!
Michael, who's a new teacher.
Woo woo!
And Max, who's a new patriarch.
Oh,
there's
amazing!
There's been a run on patriarchy.
We're generally anti-patriarchy on the show, sort of philosophically.
Yeah. But if you'd
we're
like to be
patriarchs.
a patriarch, we'll help you out. So thank you so much, guys. It's really fantastic. And this is probably a pretty good time to announce something, Dan. Which is we are ad free.
Whoa!
We are officially. It's been worked out with the hosting company. So that little threatening. Or not threatening, the warning at the beginning of the show a couple weeks ago. Nobody even needs to worry about anything. We're staying put for the time being. But we are ad free. And so if you hear an ad,
that's all due to that's due entirely to our patrons.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what's made this possible.
Absolutely. We could not do it without you. So we're not making any ad revenue, and will not going forward. But if you do happen to hear
because we like you guys more.
Yeah. Absolutely. But if you do happen to hear an ad, please let us know. Like, shoot us an email, podcast
because that's not supposed to happen.
And we will get to the bottom of it. But that's such great news, and it's amazing. And Dan, you're absolutely right. Like, it's so meaningful that so many of you have come out to support the show, it's amazing. And and
if you want to keep us that way, we need more. We need everyone who can. If it's something that you feel like you can do and something that you want to do, please do step forward and become a patron of the show. Just go to thankgodimatheist.com and you can find the Support Us tab. And that's what will keep us going and sustain us so that we don't have to ever have ads again.
Absolutely. And of course, Dan, as always, we do have our top donor to thank.
Whoa!
Our Lord and Savior, Davis!
Woo! Davis! All right, you guys are amazing. Let's continue onward.
Dan.
Hey.
So, like we've talked about already a lot on this episode, is that this is a rough time politically in these United States.
Yeah.
This is a really rough week where we're coming to terms with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and what that's
dealing with
mean.
the fact.
Yep.
You guys, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to get another.
It's going to be 6-3.
Another crazy.
Yeah. The court is out of balance. Like
conservative justice in someone
it was already out of balance, but
who all they care about is their Jesus and they don't care about the law. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bad choice, a non-good someone who doesn't care about jurisprudence at all.
Yeah.
And
it's going to be another Kavanaugh. Like, it's a Gorsuch who obviously is problematic on a lot of levels, but who's turned out to not be exactly what we thought he was going to be. We're not going to get another one of those. There's not going to be a sneaky, actually maybe a decent jurist, just one that doesn't agree with us. It's going to be just a terrible jurist, unqualified, and who has a religious agenda. and that's who we're getting.
Correct. So brace yourselves. Yeah. Come to terms with it. It's happening.
Yeah. But here's the deal, and this is something that that I think that happens a lot in life in general, which is when things get bad and when things are down, there's an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And we just have to see what that opportunity is. And I think the opportunity is going to be to coalesce around some kind of political message. We've talked about the fact ad nauseum that the atheists in general are not organized, right? And I don't want some national organization coming along, and it wouldn't work, right? Like, we're not that kind of movement.
Nobody can step forward and say we now speak for all the atheists,
right? Exactly,
because we're not a monolith,
right? We all came to our atheism by different paths, and quite frankly, it means something probably different to all of us, right? To not believe in God. But there are similar either experiences or needs, probably more likely than anything, like the need to keep prayer out of the schools and out of our public meetings, to keep religious education out of the schools. And
literally right now, our president has just announced that he wants to do, what did he call it? Like patriotic education, which is literally just
code,
the thinnest veiled thing. It's just going to be religious indoctrination.
Right.
It's going to teach a revisionist history that is not even related to reality
about the founding of the nation. You mean?
About how our nation was founded. It's going to ignore people of color entirely. It's going to be just the story of valiant white people creating, with the help of Lord God Almighty and Jesus Christ himself, writing a constitution, that was crafted by God. Mm-hmm. It's going to be nonsense. Yeah. And we need to fight it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean just talking about it.
Yeah, and so Dan, I mean, that is what we do. We do talk about it. And I have seen this show as sort of the thing that I do, right? To be engaged and to be involved and to do our
it is
our
our activism,
right? This is our activism. But in the wake of something like this, I was kind of thinking, and it's kind of been a theme on the show actually for a couple weeks, maybe a few weeks. Little things have sort of popped up of like, well, what do we do, right? How do we organize, right? And I think that like what we really need to do is I want to start encouraging atheists out there within, our listenership and beyond, to really start considering doing what the evangelicals did so effectively starting decades ago, which was, if you got a kid in school, get on the PTA, right?
Yeah.
If you have experience with the PTA, why not run for the school board, right?
Yeah.
After you've, or maybe you've already done that, run for city council, right? Like, and just that's how they affected their political change. Was they started small, and it's slow, and it takes a long time, but you're making change in your immediate community, right? You're looking out for, if you're on the school board, you're looking out for issues like prayer in school, right?
Yeah.
And you start small and you build and you build. And so I would like us, Dan, to basically make an offer to the atheist community at large, which is, if you've had this experience, if you've done this, right? If you've been politically involved, and you maybe let's take the example of being on a school board, right? You've been on a school board. You had to run for it. You had to be on it. You had to make your connections, right? And maybe there's somebody out there who's thought about it, but that's a little intimidated by it. And we would
doesn't know the process, doesn't understand how it works, all that sort of thing.
Exactly. And so what I want to offer to everyone, right, is that we will help make these connections, right? If you've had this experience and you'd like to help somebody else, let us know. Just email us.
Right into us.
podcast@thankgodimatheist.com. Tell us how you would want to be available, right? And then if you're looking to do it, email us and we're going to connect you, right? And this is our first step. Like we have some other ideas. We'd like the website to maybe have some resources on it. But
so if you have resources that you think are useful, send them in to us.
Exactly.
If you have anything that you think would be useful to someone from our group who wants to take the step of running for office, or who wants to be more politically engaged, who wants to start some activism, who wants to start an organization, who wants to run a campaign, any of these things, here's the thing. We need it's beyond just who we vote for now.
Yeah.
It needs to be you.
Yeah.
If you're in a job that you don't love, run for office. Why not? Find a way, or if you've got a friend who's an atheist, who's a non-believer, who's a nun, and you think they would make an excellent candidate, let's dive in. Let's get it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's too late for this particular political cycle. But that's when you start. Right. You don't start the year of. Right. You start years before, and we need to be planting these seeds all over the country.
Absolutely. And this is regardless of who gets into the White House. Right? Like this is not, we're just all upset, right? Well, we are upset because Trump's president, and we are upset because Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. But this is not about them. This is about us standing up for a secular society that is going to continue to be eroded. Like it's just going to, right? We're facing this right now, and we need to stand up for the thing that we want, which is a society that is for all of us. That's the thing. That is the beauty of the secular message, is that we're not trying to take anything away from anybody, and we're not trying to tell them
to exclude.
That they don't have a place in the conversation, right? The people have a place. Their religion doesn't, right? Like your ideas have a place. Your values have a place. But come and talk about them outside of religion, right? And
come and talk about them as part of our society.
Exactly.
As of our pluralistic, open, secular society.
Exactly. Right.
It's and this, obviously this doesn't just apply here in the United States, but when you're in a government, when you have a governmental system that is meant to be representational or representative, meaning we elect people to represent us in these bodies.
Right.
I want us to be representing us.
Yeah.
I want, we can't just rely on people that align with us politically to care about, maybe they will. Maybe they'll care about our way of thinking. But, it's like that emailer said, we want a secular society. We want to rally around a positive message of secularism and of inclusiveness. And we can find the way to do that. But a bunch of us, you, the person listening at home, genuinely check in with yourself. Is this something you could do?
Right.
Honestly, sit down and ask yourself, I'm staying at home because of COVID and my kids are in school. Could I run for school board?
Right.
Could I, at least join the PTA and be part of the conversation?
Right.
The more we can be part of the conversation, the louder each of our voices becomes.
Yep. Absolutely.
So That's what we're encouraging. We want to hear your stories about it. We want to hear your ideas about it. Write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
You can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button. Engage us there.
And while you're there, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in. Also find us on Twitter @TGIAtheist. And you know what, Dan?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you like what you hear out there on this show, right, please help us continue to make it possible. You can do so by visiting our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab.
Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thank you to Gordon Johnston for the use of your music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.